welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is BTS, that's Behind the Scenes, a show where we share a sneak peek into the latest edition of the Business Today magazine with all our viewers. Joining in on this show with me are Krishna Gopalan, the Executive Editor of Business Today magazine, and Surabhi, the Economy Editor of the Business Today magazine as well. Warm welcome to both of you and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. Now, of course, we will be getting into the details of what exactly this magazine has to offer to all our readers and our viewers this time around. Let me just show a quick glimpse to all our viewers of to the cover of the magazine edition this time around. So you actually see Hina Nagarjuna right there, the MD and the CEO of Diageo India on the cover, and Krishna here has got us this exclusive interaction where she details what has she truly done right to turn around this massive 26,000 crore rupees Alco-Bev company, Diageo India. So let's start off with that discussion and then we will delve into the other stories as well. Krishna, it was a loss-making company and a troubled company then that Diageo India had taken over. From that time around to now, when we are actually seeing double-digit profit margins for the company, do tell us how the fortunes of Diageo India are turning for the better under the leadership of Hina Nagarjuna.
Thank you, Sakshi. Nice to be here. I'm just going to take a minute to go back in time. This is a company that was initially owned by Vijay Mallya, and it was called United Spirits. And all of us know the foray into aviation really landed Mallya in a mountain of debt. Diageo took over this company sometime in 2014, and it was a pretty controversial buyout. They hiked their stake slowly but surely, and they own about 56% in the company today. The big attraction for Diageo was the slew of brands they had. So be it McDonald's, be it Royal Challenge, be it Signature. It was extremely attractive for the UK-based Alco-Bev major. And please understand, India is a very difficult terrain to be in. We have just 80,000 quote-unquote wine shops. So the distribution game plays out exactly at those outlets. When Diageo came in, it was a loss-making entity because a lot of money had moved into the aviation business. The balance sheet was hopelessly out of control in terms of being leveraged. So Diageo had to come in to clean up the business completely. So that challenge is what the folks at Diageo had to deal with. A strategy based on cost control, making sure some of the legacy issues were addressed, and most importantly, letting go of what is called the bars and the popular brands was a turning point for the company. That took place in 2022, but it really set the road forward in terms of moving from what was a loss-making entity to getting into profit after tax margin well into double digits.
Okay. You know, the stock has also seen a sharp spike over the last 3 years as well. That's substantially improved and the stock is still referred to as United Spirits over there. And currently, as we are doing this video again, there is a lot of focus really coming back onto the Alco-Bev space. The space is seeing some kind of a re-rating coming into space. A lot of companies, other than even Diageo India, are now entering into the luxury market when it comes to whiskey as well. But first up, tell us what is happening right now at Diageo India. Tell us about the focus on premiumization, the innovation that's happening, which is actually putting the company on the right path, Krishna.
Sakshi, just to make the issue very simple, I'm going to break down the industry for the sake of simplicity, like I said. So, and I'm going to take the state of Karnataka. Liquor's priced differently depending which part of the country you're in, because excise is a big ticket revenue generator for the government from this particular sector. So from a simple point of view, 0 to 450 rupees, it is what is called the popular category. 450 all the way to 1,000 or 1,200 rupees, depending on the state you're in, is the prestige and above segment. Diageo's play is completing the prestige and above segment. I'm just going to go back in time to elaborate on the popular part of it. A large part of the portfolio is what Vijay Mallya owned. Also brands that came in courtesy of the buyout of Shaw Wallace. So you get brands like Gold Tavern, you get brands like Romano, White Mischief. So it's a mix of brown and white spirits. India is primarily a whiskey market. About 2/3 of the volumes come from whiskey, and white spirits still brings in barely 5%. So Diageo's move, therefore, is to focus on the whiskey market. Speaking of premiumization, they figured that the market from 450 onwards is where the real margins start to kick in. The interesting part is Diageo's revenues. If you look at it closely between FY21 and 23, the volumes have actually dropped because they exit from the popular category, but the revenues consequently have also dropped, but the margins have taken off. So it tells you that the effort that one puts in to push the mass of the popular category is necessarily not commensurate with the margins it generates. So on the face of it, I think the market has obviously recognized the fact that an affluent or a new India is moving into more what is now being redefined as affordable options because people don't want the limited option scenario anymore. They want to consume new kinds of whiskey, and that fits in beautifully with the category which is above 450 rupees, and that's exactly where Diageo's play is today.
Okay, but also Krishna, the competitive intensity is further increasing in this entire market right now. Just like how I pointed out, the existing players are now foraying into different categories. More and more are entering into the premiumized and luxury category of liquor as well, which is now going to be getting heated up. So what are kind of opportunities does Diageo India have going forward from here in the Indian market, and what will it really need to do to continue to be at the top spot?
Sakshi, the one good thing Diageo has done is it's not positioned itself as a stodgy whiskey or a stodgy liquor company anymore. They've actually gone into stakes in smaller companies. They want to play in gin. They want to play in other parts of white spirits. So the whole, to give an indication, earlier it would take about 18 to 24 months for them to launch a new product. It's now down to 9 months. In fact, for a particular variant called Epitome, they launched the brand in 95 days flat. They work like an entrepreneurial startup. Hina Nagarajan, the MD of Diageo India, who comes from an FMCG background. She spent a lot of time with Nestle and American Cosmetics, also worked in the paints industry. So she understands the FMCG and the distribution space very well. She said, if we deal with a new consumer, we cannot afford that kind of timeline for us. So it has to be a point where products keep rolling out to the market to retain the levels of interest the consumer has in the liquor category. So if it's gin, we'll that range. But the whole idea of brand building and all of it needs to be done in those 80,000 outlets. And please understand, Sakshi, this is one sector where you just cannot advertise. It has to be subtle. And you have to have something like, let's say, a Royal Challenge mineral water, for example, or Royal Challenge Bangalore team for IPL. But the whole idea of brand building therefore becomes very limited. They've gone about the game very smartly, in my opinion, fundamentally crashing deadlines, looking to identify new niches in the market. I just want to bring up one example. Tequila was considered a pretty stable or almost a non-existent category. They got it down hugely off an international category, and just that one brand has more than doubled the tequila market in terms of volume. So I think they're reaching out to a new audience with a new set of products.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic insight, Krishna. Thanks for getting us all of those details from the exclusive interaction and the entire story, how it unfolds with respect to the liquor space, liquor market in India, and Diageo India's position right there. From beverages, let's now move on to food. Food prices have been a big challenge, and definitely on the top of the mind of the common man who's been reeling under the pressure of higher food prices, higher inflation for a long time now. Surabhi right here has actually done a deep dive to really find out what could have been the potential reasons why food prices have continued to remain elevated for a fairly long time. Surabhi, to tell us what are the key reasons that you found in your research there, and is there any respite in sight when it comes to higher food prices?
Hello Sakshi, thank you for having me on the show. So as you rightly pointed out, food price has been an issue that we've all been grappling with for a long time, and it's also one of the reasons why headline inflation numbers have been high, and the Monetary Policy Committee of the RBI has stayed away from cutting rates for quite some time now, even though there has been a call for this. So we spoke to several experts for this story, and the consensus seems to be that, there's been an impact of climate change in terms of higher temperatures. We've seen how hot and sweltering the summers have been, as well as, rainfall patterns which have changed considerably over the last couple of years. So earlier food inflation used to be a very transient thing which would happen for a couple of months, say, when it's raining, so, vegetable prices would go up, or, towards the end of a crop cycle when the new crop was supposed to come, that time food prices would tend to go up. But the last couple of years, food prices have been high continuously. If either it's vegetables like tomatoes, onions, potatoes, or fruits, cereals and pulses are another category where we've seen high food prices. And a large part of this is due to climate change. There's also another reason why food prices have been high, especially, pulses and cereals. That's because, of global disruptions and geopolitical issues such as the Ukraine-Russia war, which led to, high wheat prices. But the expectation now is that food prices could cool from October onwards as the new crop comes in. However, you know, we had the August numbers for CPI inflation coming in, and July-August CPI inflation was 3.6%. So it seems like, you know, inflation is cooling down, but this is largely the impact of a higher base. And now there are also worries that the high food prices, they're slowly seeping into core inflation as well, and that could see some sort of an upswing from next month.
Right, okay. But what can be done to offset the impact of climate change on food crops truly, Surabhi?
So it's a very tricky issue. I think one of the main things we really need to do is work on, you know, the net zero targets that we have set out, because that's the only way climate change can be addressed. But in the interim, there are things that, you know, the ICAR and scientists are doing, farmers are following the instructions, things like, you know, using different varieties of seeds for crops like wheat that can withstand higher temperature. And there's a lot of innovation also going on in, you know, agriculture, the climate resilient varieties of crops and seeds that are being released, and there's a lot of work being done. But you know, we spoke to Niti Aayog member Ramesh Chand for this story, who's also an agriculture economist, and he warned us that beyond a tipping point there's nothing which can be done. So it's a really pressing issue, and all of us really need to work on this.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, thank you so much, Surabhi, and thank you so much, Krishna, as well, for sharing with us all of those insights from the magazine. I'm sure there is much more for all the viewers and readers to really look at. Of course, these are the two most important ones that we have tracked for you, just to show you a glimpse of what this issue really has. But the copy is already out there on the stands. I've got mine, so you go out there and grab your copies and editions as well. This one you don't want to miss. Many thanks, viewers, for being with us on this special edition of BTS, but do stay tuned on Business Today television as well. There's a lot more lined up for you. It's an action-packed day ahead.